The soldier's heart, the soldier's spirit, the soldier's soul are everything. General George C. Marshall.
Rendezvous with destiny. Rendezvous with destiny. Rendezvous with destiny.
Throughout the history of combat, no symbol represents power and decisive action to the enemies of the United States like the paths worn by the soldiers of the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. Masters in the violence of combat, the brave men and women who wear the Screaming Eagle will go to any length on a moment's notice to protect the United States and its interests. On a direct line from the President and the military's most senior leaders, the 101 is always ready to deploy, engage, and destroy its adversaries. A reality perfectly captured within the Readiness mantra, ready to fight tonight. The fast-paced, always ready, aggressive action that the Screaming Eagles employ around the world requires the highest standards of readiness.
The Army describes readiness in 5 dimensions. Physical readiness dictates that soldiers in the 101st be in peak condition for air assault operations behind enemy lines. Mental, behavioral, and emotional readiness means that the Screaming Eagles are prepared to handle the potential trauma of combat on their psyche. Social readiness faces the reality that no soldier is an army by looking at the web of relational support that soldiers require. Family readiness is best captured in a quote from the late General Ray Odierno. "The strength of our soldiers is our families. Soldiers with fortified families are better able to answer the nation's call to accomplish the mission." And finally, the dimension that describes purpose and direction to all areas of life is called spiritual readiness. Unit ministry teams in the 101st Airborne Division have the large task of helping each soldier become spiritually ready for war.
The soldier's spiritual dimension is absolutely universal. I mean, everybody, everywhere, all the time has this spiritual dimension at work. And not only is it universal, it's absolutely strategic. It affects everything because it's that place down inside us, our soul, that is most important and lasts the longest. The source of our purpose, our meaning, our core values and beliefs and identity. Not only is it universal and strategic, but it's absolutely also our most personal, potent, powerful weapon to survive and thrive. Can I give you a quote that was given to me as a young Green Beret many years ago by a 5-year POW escapee who said, "Jeff, it's not what happens to you, it's what happens in you that makes the difference. The enemy can strip everything from you, but your faith, your spirit, that spiritual dimension." So it's universal, it's strategic, and it's absolutely a powerful personal weapon. But without a doubt, war can take a significant toll on our spiritual dimension.
If we don't prepare soldiers spiritually for war, we know they're going to bring that spiritual battle back with them after the war. That's where most of the damage will be done. We know sexually assault, drinking, everything will go downhill in that soldier personal life. But most of all, soldiers will end up committing suicide, taking their life. I seen it firsthand. When soldiers come back, when they're struggling with the spiritual aspect of life, they end up taking their life.
Combat will have a negative effect on one's spirit. It can break a soldier's spirit, cause them to lose hope and faith, to lose hope in mankind, to hate the enemy even more, and at worst, to hate themselves. It can cause them to lose faith in their leaders and in their unit's mission. It can cause them to question the chain of command and the decisions of their leaders. He or she will lose hope. When that happens, the best outcome, if that soldier survives the mission, is that he or she will have bitterness and resentment for the chain of command. At worst, it can cause them to hate their seniors and feel cut off or alienated from them. When a soldier's spirit becomes wounded or destroyed, they tend to isolate and mask their pain with drugs, alcohol, and high-risk behavior.
For members of the 101st Airborne Division, getting spiritually ready for war is part of a systematic approach called the Spiritual Readiness Initiative.
The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates famously said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Well, here in the 101st, we put our own spin on that, but it's one that's no less true, and it's this. The unexamined life is not ready for the adversity of combat. Now, the Spiritual Readiness Initiative is really nothing more than an attempt to get every Screaming Eagle soldier to ask themselves some of the great questions of life, and then to come to satisfactory answers for themselves, which is a task that is not as easy as it sounds. It's a task that requires time, requires focus, but it's a journey that should begin immediately because we never know when that call to combat may come. And we understand that when it comes to physical training, physical readiness. We don't wait till the call to combat comes to get ourselves fit, but because by then it's too late. And the same thing applies when it comes to being spiritually ready for combat. Now, it's certainly possible that this current generation of Screaming Eagle soldiers will never have to deploy and engage in intense combat, and I pray that that's the case. But we know for certain that the adversity and stress that just comes with everyday life is something that none of us can avoid, and we require spiritual readiness for that as well. And so we have a motto that kind of captures both of those things, and it's a motto that undergirds really the entire Spiritual Readiness Initiative, and it's this: ready for combat, ready for life.